Back to another episode of the podcast. Today we are talking about Stoicism once again, probably also featuring once again Ryan Holiday and one of his videos, maybe even multiple of his videos. Maybe it's going to be a short, maybe it's going to be whatever. It really heavily depends on what we are going to find today and what we are encountering. If there is something great, if we are encountering something incredibly amazing, then we're going to go through that one. But let's actually fire up the Daily Stoic. There we go. The Daily Stoic YouTube channel. And I do hope that this is fine for people there. Because of very recent problems regarding copyright shit that I still do not really understand. But it is what it is, I guess. Can't do that much about that. Besides, given credit, but apparently this is just not enough, and you can't just. I don't know. It is really difficult, and I do have a feeling that people sometimes do things just because it's not backed by any law. But anyway, this Stoic virtue will change your life from one day. And by the Daily Stoic, aka
discipline is what level. You can't wish your way there. You can't chant your way there. The only way you get there is through hard work.
That's a question, Mike.
I hope this isn't too loud, but I think it is rather okay, is it?
Coach keeps asking me, do you want to be fast now or do you want to be fast at the next World Cup? It's an interesting balance.
Let's start from the very beginning.
Discipline is what takes you to that higher level. You can't wish your way there. You can't chant your way there. The only way you get there is through hard work.
That's a question my coach keeps asking me. Do you want to be fast now or do you want to be fast at the next World Cup? It's an interesting balance between being future thinking and looking at the process and understanding where you're going and trusting that you're going somewhere, but also being okay with where you are right now. And that doesn't mean this is going to be the moment forever, but you have to honor that break and that rest and what regeneration happens in your body to be able to actually deliver when you need to be fast. The interesting thing about being a professional athlete is we do have these goals and we have cycles and we have training structure for the entire year. And the goal is to really peak. So we're trying to have kind of like superhuman performance for a few big events a year. And a lot of people think that means that you're just training as hard as you can all the time. And
I think this is incredibly important to point out. There are off seasons in every sport. There are off seasons. Maybe besides, fitness, the gym bros, I think they're not having an off season, maybe a tiny little bit in the summer, but still every other professional sport is having off seasons and or just, periods of time where things are not as incredibly crushing. Soccer, you're having it. In football, you're of course having it. In any ski sport, you're having it, because you primarily can participate when it is winter, and so on and so forth. Totally something to point out on. Totally also something to consider regarding other other aspects of life.
really, I would say what differentiates amateur and elite athletes primarily is the recovery time, the ability to make that work count and to allow your body to recover between these hard sessions. So a lot of what we do in the fall is long, easy rides and just preparing your body to be able to take on this load. And it might feel like you're not doing all that you can, but it's critical to performance when the time comes.
It really sounds like what you're talking about here is temperance, the idea of moderation, which I imagine is extra difficult when you are super committed, super ambitious. I imagine it sucks to not be peaking right now because that means you're having to be okay with not being as good as you'd like to be in the present moment or even.
And I totally believe that this is something a lot of professionals have encountered, have seen and had to deal with. But in the end, it is incredibly crucial for, feeling your best and performing the best when you should. and when you have to. In other words, rest is important. And it is actually indeed something I do really forget about from time to time for whatever reason. And I would consider that there is a difference between active rest and passive rest. Passive rest being sleep, which is incredibly important and amazingly important, definitely something to think about and definitely something to also focus on and ensure that it is good and at least okay. But also active rest, relaxing a bit and whatever. It's not about the fucking hustle and whatnot, They are not hustling, quote unquote, They're not working all the fucking time and whatever, because they can't. They couldn't. They would not be able to perform as well as they're doing when they do that. And I don't know if people like David Goggins have such a schedule. Maybe not, but he is an incredible individual, I'd say, and a complete crazy one, to be honest. But yeah.
For extended periods of time.
Yeah. Optimizing versus maximizing. Understanding what things you're doing that make a big difference and doing those things fully and completely, but not maximizing.
I think for me, like running or the physical training that I do, part of that is creating the muscle that allows me to go like, I didn't want to go for a run this morning and I went. I also don't want to take notes on this boring ass book that I read, but
I just have to see something. Yeah. I think it is double the sound now, is it? And mute. Okay, does this do anything? Apparently not. Yeah, anyway.
But like, I'm the kind of person that easily and regularly does the things I don't want to do, not just if they're hard, but because they're hard.
I think it's absolutely a muscle that we have. It's a mental muscle. And I think the research backs this up. If we can train that discipline, that self-control, that ability to sit with that hard thing and navigate it, it helps in other aspects of our life. So in my life, a lot of it is around physical practice. When I was growing up, I was a very competitive runner and I don't push it that much anymore. But what I make sure that I do is that in addition to, let's say, my easy running, at least once a week, I'm doing something where I'm pushing like the bounds of my physical ability. That could be going to a nearby hill and doing some sprints up and down it. It could be like, I'm gonna go out 4 miles and then turn around and try and run the last 4 miles like hard home. And I do that not because I'm trying to race. I don't race anymore or get in good shape. It's just because I want to be able to sit with that like situation where part of my mind is screaming at me to say, hey, like you're not training for anything. Like, why don't you just slow down? Why don't you quit? You don't have to do this. Whenever I feel that like anxiety or that fear or that pull, that acts as a signal to me to sit there and be like, all right, maybe I should move towards this for a little bit.
Discipline is the destiny for all the podcast listeners. Apparently a book by Ryan Holiday. Is it the owner? I think it is the owner of the Daily Stoic. I'd assume at least the face of the Daily Stoic website and podcast. And is that podcast? I don't know, but definitely a YouTube channel. Doing hard things and practicing doing hard things, especially when you're not willing to do them, I think is important, aka discipline. Unless, of course, it is overdone. I believe you can overdo it with everything, quite everything. Maybe also air. Yeah, you can hyperventilate, and also water. Yes, you can drink too much water. Do hard things, but remember that only doing hard things is nonsensical. As this guy also pointed out, he was a professional runner, and during the week he's having one session when he's pushing the boundaries. 1. Not 7, not 5, not 10. Of course, I believe that he is for sure doing this one every single week. There is no week where he's not doing one of them. But the rest of it is not pushing the boundaries. It's not just, going crazy, dumb shit. It's not about that. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna end the episode there. I do really truly and dearly hope that I've been able to, and Ryan has been able to point out important things. And I'm hopefully going to see you next time. So, bye-bye.